the Green Boar Inn, a haven for weary travelers, a hearth for roaring laughter, and a wellspring of local gossip. Nestled amidst rolling hills and a whispering forest, the inn stood as a beacon of warmth and camaraderie in Oakhaven. Its wooden sign depicted a jolly green boar raising a tankard, beckoning all to partake in its hospitality. Within its walls, stories unfolded like chapters in a well-loved book. Farmers exchanged tales, merchants bartered news, and bards spun yarns of adventure. The aroma of roasting meat and freshly baked bread hung heavy in the air, promising satisfaction for empty stomachs and weary souls. The Green Boar Inn was the heart of Oakhaven, a place where friendships were forged and memories made. Memories lingered like the scent of pipe tobacco and spilled ale. A place where everyone knew your name and everyone was welcome. The inn's proprietor, Cray, was known for his welcoming nature. With a twinkle in his eye and a ready smile, he turned strangers into friends and friends into family. Cray was a man of simple pleasures. He found joy in the warmth of the hearth, the camaraderie of good company, and the satisfaction of a hard day's work. His days were spent tending to the needs of his patrons, ensuring their mugs were never empty and their spirits never low. He moved with an effortless grace, gliding between tables, his booming laugh echoing through the rafters, a testament to the infectious joy he carried within him. Cray was a man who lived for the moment, savoring each interaction, each shared story, and each hearty laugh. Yet beneath his jovial exterior lay a core of quiet strength, a strength forged in the fires of hardship and tempered by the passage of time. Life had thrown its share of challenges at Cray, but he had met each one with unwavering resolve and an unyielding spirit. He was a protector, a guardian of the hearth, a man who understood the importance of community and the sacred bond of hospitality. He knew that the Green Boar Inn was more than just a building. It was a refuge, a sanctuary, a place where people could come to escape the storms of life and find solace in the warmth of human connection. Little did Cray know that a storm was brewing, a storm that would test his strength and courage in ways he could never have imagined. The night the trouble began, the moon hung low and heavy in the sky, a crimson orb that cast an eerie glow upon the land. The air, thick with the scent of approaching rain, crackled with an unsettling energy. Inside the Green Boar Inn, Cray cleaned his father's hunting rifle, shadows dancing across his face. It was a ritual he performed every full moon, a tradition passed down through generations. His mind drifted back to his grandfather's tales of creatures of the night. But tonight, a low growl echoed from the woods, sending a shiver down his spine. He stepped outside and saw them, a pack of wolves with eyes burning crimson. They were not ordinary wolves. They were werewolves, and they had come to Oakhaven. The werewolves moved with an eerie silence, their powerful muscles rippling beneath their thick, dark fur. They fanned out at the edge of the tree line, their glowing eyes never leaving Cray. Cray's hand tightened around the hunting rifle, his knuckles turning white. The lead werewolf, larger than the others, took a step forward. Cray felt a cold sweat prickle his skin, but he stood his ground. A low growl rumbled from the alpha wolf's chest. It was a challenge, a primal declaration of intent. Cray met its gaze, his resolve hardening. He would not back down. He would not yield his home. A sudden gust of wind carried the scent of blood. Cray's stomach churned. These were hunters, driven by bloodlust. He had to warn the others, but the nearest house was a mile away. He couldn't leave the inn undefended. Cray raised his rifle. It was an old weapon passed down through generations. Tonight it would sing a new song. He took aim. The werewolves paused, sensing danger. They were still vulnerable to a well-placed shot. A tense silence descended upon the clearing, broken only by the sound of Cray's own breathing. The werewolves were testing him, waiting for him to make the first move. Suddenly, a deafening clap of thunder echoed across the sky. A low growl rumbled in Cray's chest, a primal sound of defiance. He squeezed the trigger, the rifle bucking against his shoulder. The other werewolves surged forwards, their eyes burning with a feral hunger. Cray knew then that he was in for the fight of his life. Adrenaline surged through Cray's veins as he pumped another round into the rifle. He couldn't fight them all off alone. He had to warn the others. Turning on his heel, he sprinted towards the inn, his boots pounding against the cobblestone path. He burst through the doors, his chest heaving, his voice hoarse as he shouted, "Werewolves, they're here!" The common room, abuzz with conversation and laughter only moments before, fell silent. All eyes turned to him, their faces etched with disbelief and a growing sense of terror. Old Man Hemlock, a retired blacksmith who had seen more winters than most could count, choked on his ale, sputtering, "What in tarnation?" Martha, the barmaid, her usually rosy cheeks now ashen white, clutched at her apron, her eyes wide with fear. "We have to barricade the doors, now!" Cray commanded, his voice echoing through the stunned silence. The patrons, jolted into action by the urgency in his voice, scrambled to their feet, their initial disbelief giving way to a desperate need to survive. Cray barked orders, his voice a steady presence in the growing chaos. Tables and chairs were overturned, their sturdy oak frames used to reinforce the heavy wooden doors. Windows were shuttered, plunging the once bright inn into a shadowy gloom, the only light emanating from the flickering fireplace and a few hastily lit lanterns. "Silver! Has anyone got silver?" Cray shouted, remembering the old wives' tales his grandmother used to tell about the creature's only weakness. A young woman, her face streaked with tears, thrust a tarnished silver locket into his hand. "It belonged to my grandmother," she whispered, her voice trembling. Cray nodded grimly, accepting the offering with a curt nod. It wasn't much, but it was a start. He grabbed a handful of nails from the toolbox behind the bar, his mind racing. He found a hammer and got to work, his movements swift and precise as he hammered the silver locket and nails into the wooden stock of his rifle. It wouldn't kill them, not outright, but it might buy them some time. It had to. The air inside the inn crackled with fear and determination. Patrons, their shock subsiding, sprang into action. Farmers hefted pitchforks and axes, their faces grim. Martha, with a steely glint, distributed ale and food. "Eat up, lads," she said, her voice steady. "You'll need your strength for what's to come." Cray, heart-pounding, surveyed the scene with pride. The Green Boar Inn had become a fortress, its inhabitants unlikely warriors. The silence outside was almost as unnerving as the growls that had preceded it. Cray, his back pressed against the heavy oak door, strained to hear any sound that might betray the werewolves' next move. He imagined their glowing eyes peering through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. The tension in the room was palpable. The patrons huddled together, their faces illuminated by the flickering candlelight. A low whimper escaped the young woman who had given Cray the silver locket. Her husband, pale but determined, wrapped his arm around her, clutching a rusty axe. Their young son clung to his mother's skirts, his eyes wide and unblinking. Cray took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm raging inside him. He had to stay focused, had to be strong, not just for himself, but for everyone in the inn. They were counting on him, their lives literally in his hands. He closed his eyes for a moment, picturing his father's face, hearing his voice echoing in the recesses of his mind. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, son," his father used to say. "It's doing what needs to be done, even when you're scared witless." Cray opened his eyes, his gaze hardening with resolve. He was ready. Let them come. A deafening crash shattered the tense silence. The werewolves were here. A window exploded, showering the room with glass. A monstrous form leaped through, eyes burning with fury. Cray raised his rifle and fired. The silver bullet struck and the creature roared in pain. The wound was severe but not fatal. The werewolf staggered, eyes on Cray. More werewolves battered down doors and windows. Patrons met the onslaught with desperate courage. The air filled with snarls, shouts, and clanging metal. Cray, his heart pounding, fired round after round, each silver bullet buying precious seconds. Martha, streaked with sweat and grime, moved among the defenders, tending to wounds with practiced efficiency. "Hold the line," she shouted, her voice hoarse but unwavering. "Show these beasts what we're made of!" The first wave finally broke, the werewolves retreating into the night. The common room, once warm and inviting, was now a disaster zone littered with broken furniture and pools of blood. Amidst the carnage, a glimmer of hope remained. They had survived the first onslaught, barely. Cray, trembling with exhaustion, leaned against the bar, knowing this was only a temporary reprieve. The werewolves would return with a vengeance. They had to find a way to exploit the creature's weaknesses. "Fire!" Old Man Hemlock rasped. "They may be monsters, but they're still flesh and blood. Fire will hold them back." Cray nodded grimly. Hemlock was right. Fire was their only chance. "Martha," Cray said, his voice firm, "get everyone to the second floor. Barricade the stairwell. And Martha, take the children. Get them somewhere safe." Martha hesitated, her lips pressed into a thin line. "What about you, Cray?" she asked, worried. Cray forced a smile, placing a reassuring hand on her arm. "Someone has to hold them off. Buy you some time. 19. The air filled with smoke as Cray tossed a burning lantern onto the pool of spilled ale. The flames caught quickly, creating a firewall between the inn and the creatures outside. He heard the werewolves returning, their howls echoing through the night. Their shadows danced across the walls, drawing closer. He raised his rifle, his finger on the trigger, his resolve absolute. He was out of time, he was out of options. But he was not out of fight. He was Cray Starr, protector of the Green Boar Inn. The werewolves could have his blood, but never his spirit. They would never have the Green Boar Inn. As the first werewolf lunged through the flames, Cray met its gaze, a grim smile on his lips. "Let's dance, you mangy mutt," he whispered. 14. The lead werewolf crashed into Cray with the force of a runaway wagon. They tumbled to the ground, a tangle of claws and teeth. Cray fought back with ferocity, landing a solid punch on the creature's snout. The werewolf howled in pain, its grip loosening. Cray seized his opportunity, scrambling back. He reached for his rifle, his fingers closing around the cold steel. The other werewolves, emboldened by their alpha's struggle, surged through the flames. They fanned out, surrounding Cray, their growls a chilling chorus. 9. Cray's finger tightened on the trigger, but he knew it was no use. He was outmatched and running out of time. The flames were quickly consuming the inn. Just when he thought all hope was lost, a glint of silver caught his eye. The young woman's silver locket. It was lying on the floor, glittering amidst the ashes. He lunged for it, ignoring the pain, his fingers closing around the cool metal. He had a desperate plan, their only chance. He had to make them follow him into the heart of the inferno. Cray scrambled to his feet, clutching the locket and his rifle. He backed away slowly, a feral grin spreading across his face. "Come on, you overgrown fleas," he taunted. "You want a piece of me? Come and get it." The werewolves hesitated, their eyes narrowed, trying to anticipate Cray's next move. Cray took a deep breath and flung the silver locket into the inferno. The effect was instantaneous. The werewolves, drawn to the silver, surged forward, their primal instincts overriding their fear of the fire. They howled in pain as the flames licked at their fur. Cray had them right where he wanted them. He raised his rifle, his finger tightening on the trigger. The silver-laden bullets found their marks with deadly accuracy. The werewolves, trapped in the inferno, stood little chance. He fired again and again, each shot a nail in their coffin. The air filled with the smell of burnt fur and scorched flesh. As dawn pierced through the smoke-filled sky, Cray stumbled out of the smoldering ruins of the Green Boar Inn. The battle was over. The werewolves were gone, vanquished by fire and silver. The inn was beyond saving, its timbers reduced to ashes. Cray stood there, his heart heavy with grief and relief. He had survived the night, but at a terrible cost. The Green Boar Inn, his home, was gone, and he was alone. A soft touch on his arm startled him. He turned to see Martha, her face pale but resolute. "You came back," he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. Martha smiled, a sad but genuine smile. "I told you someone has to make sure you don't drink all the good ale yourself." Cray managed a weak chuckle, his heart swelling with appreciation. He wasn't alone. He still had Martha and the people of Oakhaven who had gathered at the edge of the ruins. They had lost their beloved inn, but not their spirit. They had faced their fears and emerged from the darkness, battered but unbroken. Cray knew that the Green Boar Inn would rise again, as a symbol of their resilience and courage. The morning light, soft and gentle, seemed at odds with the devastation. The air, thick with smoke and ash, hung heavy with a profound silence. The townsfolk, drawn by the smouldering ruins, stood in stunned silence. The Green Boar Inn, once a beacon of warmth, was now a skeleton of charred timbers. The green boar on the inn's sign lay amidst the wreckage, its grin a grotesque mockery. Cray, his body aching, moved through the debris in a daze. He could still feel the heat of the flames, smell the acrid tang of burnt fur. The echoes of the werewolves' howls lingered in his ears. Martha, her arm linked through his, squeezed his hand gently. She didn't need words. Their shared grief and relief transcended the need for language. As the initial shock subsided, a different energy rippled through the crowd. The townsfolk, their faces etched with determination, began to pick through the debris. Old Man Hemlock, his face a mask of grief, placed a comforting hand on Cray's shoulder. "She may be gone, lad," he said, "but she ain't forgotten. We'll rebuild stronger, sturdier, just like you, Cray Star," and rebuild they did. The townsfolk, their despair giving way to communal spirit, worked tirelessly to clear the debris. Cray, initially hesitant to lead, found himself drawn into the heart of the effort. He had saved them from the werewolves, but it was their strength and unity that would see them through. Word of Cray's bravery spread, transforming him into a reluctant hero. People spoke of his courage in hushed tones filled with awe and gratitude. He had faced down a pack of werewolves and emerged victorious. The rebuilding of the Green Boar Inn was a testament to the enduring spirit of Oakhaven. Every swing of the hammer, every stone laid, was a defiant act of hope. The new inn, while not an exact replica, was grander, more spacious. The grand reopening was a joyous occasion, a celebration of life and resilience. People traveled from miles around to witness the rebirth of a legend. Cray, standing behind the bar, couldn't help but smile. He wasn't the same man who had faced down the werewolves. He bore the scars, but also the knowledge that hope could be found in the darkest of nights. The Green Boar Inn, reborn from the ashes, was more than just a place to eat and drink. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of Oakhaven. The stories of that fateful night became local legend, a reminder of extraordinary strength. Cray Star took his place in Oakhaven's history not as a conquering hero, but as a symbol of quiet courage. The Green Boar Inn had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Cray looked out over the crowded common room of the new Green Boar Inn. It was bigger and grander, with high ceilings and sturdy furniture. But what mattered most was the warmth and laughter that filled the room. It had been a year since the werewolves came to Oakhaven. He still woke up some nights, heart pounding, the echoes of snarls filling his senses. But those nights were becoming fewer. The nightmares were fading, replaced by the warmth of Martha's presence. The townsfolk greeted him with cheers and smiles. They saw him as a protector, a symbol of their resilience. Cray had become a living embodiment of the spirit of Oakhaven. Cray had resisted the label of hero at first. He had simply done what needed to be done. True heroism wasn't about seeking glory or recognition. It was about standing up for what was right and protecting those in need. The Green Boar Inn had become more than just a place of business. It was a symbol of their shared experience and resilience. Cray knew the story of the werewolves would be told for generations. A reminder that darkness could be held at bay by courage and community. The Green Boar Inn had become a beacon of hope, and Cray Star had found his true calling in the quiet heroism of serving others.